do sunca?
Neko mi je rekao, ako uspijem dobaciti kamen do sunca, da će mi se ostvariti sve želje.
Ovo što sad vidiš, zapravo je bilo prije 8 minuta.
Samo da uspijem prije nego što potone u more.
Kad bi mogao baciti kamen tako daleko, tako strašno daleko koliko treba do sunca, on bi na sunce pao najranije tek sljedeće godine.
Kako to misliš?
Znaš li ti koliko je sunce uopće daleko?
Koliko?
Ako ti zanima, pođi sa mnom.
Kamo?
Do mog djeda koji živi na svjetioniku.
Čekaj me, sunčice! Stvarno je daleko.
Ideš?
Idem!
We are here at the sun's behest. The earth shivers against the forces that the sun can unleash. It can change climatic zones. It can make deserts out of green lands. And it can alter the fate of civilizations, perhaps even our own.
Naš planet, Zemlja, pružuje uvjete za život raznim biljnim i životinjskim vrstama. Čak i nama, ljudima. Znanost nam govori da je te uvjete podarilo sunce. Kad je čovjek postao čovjekom, teško je izračunati, ali sigurno jest da je to bilo davno. Ljudi su stvarali civilizacije, one su se razvijale, nazadovale, napredovale, uzdizale se i propadale. Zemlja se neprestano mijenja. Samo sunce ostaje isto i neprekidno se mijenja. Uz sve naše kreativne sposobnosti, umne i tehnološke mogućnosti, projekte, putovanja na druge planete i istraživanje svemira, život na Zemlji ne bi bio moguć bez sunca. A ljude je oduvijek zanimalo što je zapravo ta svakodnevna nebeska pojava koja zrači toplinu i svjetlost.
The sun is a machine for turning matter into light. It's self-regulating, providing energy that is stable for billions of years. And it's happening in every corner of the cosmos.
S jedne strane, kultovi sunca često su ga činili božanstvom, a s druge, promatranje znatiželja i njegove mijene proizveli su razne teorije. Znamo kako su razmišljali neki mudraci stare Grčke. S druge strane, Puk je vjerovao u ono što su mu govorili svećenici i mitotvorci. U to doba nije se bilo lako snaći ako ste bili obični smrtnik. Mitologija Grka bila je toliko raskošna i slojevita da je suživot bogova i ljudi bio isprepleten do te mjere da je bilo teško razdvojiti stvarnost i mit. Bog sunca, Helije, svakog je jutra izlazio iz svoje zlatne palače u zlatnoj koči koju su vukla 4 krilata konja i putovao preko nebeskog svoda. Apolonu, sinu vrhovnog boga Zeusa, prinosile su se žrtve, a njegove se proročice, Pitiju i Sibilu, s povjerenjem pitalo za proročanstva.
U mitskoj ili stvarnoj sjevernoj zemlji Hiperboreji obitavao je prema grčkoj mitologiji Artemidin brat. On dolazi ovamo u svojim moćnim sunčevim kolima kako bi izbjegao Zeusove sržbi.
Stjepan Đurinek, istraživač je i autor nekoliko knjiga o tajanstvenoj prošlosti ljudskog roda, ali i sadašnjosti.
Zimu će provesti u drugima nepristupačnoj zemlji, vječitog sunca, plesa i radosti, sa stanovništvom oniže krasta koji u vječnom slavljenju svojih bogova žive u malenim nastambama od perja i voska. Zlatokosi mladić je bog sunca Apolon, koji će se sa svojim strelovitim sunčevim kolima tek u proljeće ponovo vratiti u Delfe.
Apolon, bog sunca. U njegovo proročište u Delfima stari su Grci hrlili tražeći odgovore na pitanje što donosi budućnost. Osjećali su da budućnost čovjeka ovisi o suncu.
Apolon je odmah nakon poroda od majke Lete u koči nošenoj labudovima otišao u Hiperboreju, sjevernu zemlju s one strane sjevernog vjetra, koja je krajnje nepristupačna morem i kopnom. U nju mogu pristupiti samo bogovi i njihovi miljenici. Apolona Hiperborejci osobito štuju i prinose mu divlje magarce kao žrtvu. On će ostati sa Hiperborejcima sve do onda dok ga pjesmom ne privukoše i ne pozvaše k sebi stanovnici Delfa. Mladi Apolon dolazi u Delfe tek u proljeće. On će ostati ovdje 9 mjeseci sa stanovnicima Delfa, a tada će se opet u jesen vratiti u Hiperboreju da bi sa pravednim i nadahnutim Hiperborejcima proveo zimu.
Filozof Anaksagora istinu je tražio u prirodnim pojavama, ne pridajući im božansku dimenziju. Sunce je tumačio kao užareni predmet. Jednom je čuo da je pokraj rijeke Aigos pao neobični predmet s neba, pa se sa svojim učenikom požurio da ga prouči. Radilo se o meteoritu veličine mlinskog kamena 467. godine prije Krista.
Nekte ek tu heliu vamegethes lictus. Ho helios arachidros esti. Kai uden heion!
And the first peoples who really decided that the sun wasn't a god, it was some physical thing which they didn't understand, were perhaps the ancient Greeks. And the ancient Greeks started off believing it was a god, but with philosophers such as Anaxagoras, who looked at the sun, who looked at its motions and decided that it was something natural, something that could be understood. He believed it was a burning stone, the size of a large island. And that wasn't a very popular view at the time. He was thrown in prison and came out of a year or so later and still had the same view. And the Greeks understood the motions of the sun. They used the fact that the moon moves in front of the sun to measure the relative distance of the moon and the sun.
Ako prihvatimo misao da je sunce živo, ne treba nas čuditi da postoji i biografija sunca. Napisao ju je David Whitehouse, engleski astronom i pisac te član Kraljevskog astronomskog društva. Nevjerojatna je to priča o suncu, čija se poglavlja sastoje od povijesti i istraživanja sunčevih reakcija, ali i mnogo starijih razmišljanja, iz onih vremena dok su jedini putokazi bile nebeske pojave poput pomrčina sunca i mjeseca.
And these are among the most wonderful events of nature. And they couldn't be predicted, they couldn't be explained until a Greek philosopher called Anaxagoras came along and said that what is happening is that you have a lineup. You have the earth, the moon and the sun lining up. And because of that particular geometry, he was able to calculate the relative distances of the moon and the sun. He worked out that the sun was 400 times further away than the moon, but he didn't know the absolute distances.
Djede, dobila sam prijatelja koji pokušava baciti kamen do sunca.
Stvarno? I kako ti ide? Kako se zoveš?
Silvestar. Djede, ne mogu se sjetiti, kolika je udaljenost između sunca i zemlje?
Negdje oko 150 milijuna kilometara.
Milijuna kilometara? Pa koliko se treba voziti do tamo?
Pa brzinom svjetlosti oko 8 do 9 minuta.
Meni se čini blizu.
Reci ti meni, Silvestre, zašto se tebi sunce toliko zamjerilo da ga ideš gađat kamenom? Bez sunca nema ni mene ni tebe, nema života na zemlji. Znaš li ti da su postojali stari narodi koji su poštivali sunce kao božanstvo?
Od znanstvenika starih civilizacija koji su umovali o prirodi sunca, danas najviše znamo o Grcima, jer su ostavili pisane tragove. No i starije civilizacije ispredale su priče o suncu. Ono je bilo njihov bog, sat, kalendar, njihov prijatelj. Do nas su te priče stigle zamotane u omotač mitologije.
It was very important that the sun renewed its life every day. Otherwise, life on planet Earth would disappear. It would cease to exist.
Acharya S. pseudonim je povjesničarke D.M. Murdoch, dobre poznavateljice starih jezika i autorice nekoliko knjiga koje se bave sunčevom mitologijom i njenim utjecajem na religije.
Ancient man decided that along with the sun came life. So the sun became a symbol of life. It became eventually a symbol of eternal life because it kept coming back every day.
Some things that are obvious and will influence people in the same way. It's quite clear that the sun is the source of light and heat and warmth and life. And so it's very widespread that people have a belief in the sun as that giver of life and warmth. How that manifests itself specifically, whether they see the sun as a god personified in some way or as some sort of spiritual force and so on, will vary and does vary from place to place and surely did in the past.
In ancient Egypt, there was a number of birds. There was the falcon and the hawk, and these symbolize the sun because they fly very high and have a strong viewpoint from this high perspective. And also the horses became symbols of the sun, and it was imagined that the sun was being pulled by a chariot drawn by a number of horses. Sometimes you find 4 horses, sometimes more, 7.
Jedan od najsamosvojnijih i najstarijih slojeva ljudske zajednice, aboriđinska kultura Australije, iskazuje i pokazuje duboku zahvalnost prema suncu. Za njih je sunce apsolutni životvorni princip svega što je na zemlji bilo, što jest i što će biti. Zato aboriđini drže da je sunce izvorište i moderator svih životnih procesa na našoj zemlji.
A sada ću vam ispričati priču koju sam zapisao kada sam plovio po Australiji. Tu priču sam čuo od starosjedilaca Australije, aboriđini. Oni kažu da postoji vrijeme kada je sve mirovalo. Svi duhovi zemlje su spavali. Jedino je veliki otac duhova bio budan. Lagano je probudio majku sunce. Kad je ona otvorila oči, velika svjetlost obasjala je usnulu zemlju, a otac duhova je rekao tada suncu: majko, imam za tebe veliki posao. Siđi na zemlju i probudi uspavane duhove i daj im formu. Majka sunce lagano se spusti na zemlju i bosonoga krene u svim smjerovima. Kako je hodala, iza nje su rasle biljke. A kad je ušla i obasjala unutrašnjost spilja, iz njih su počeli izlaziti insekti koji započeše let oko biljaka. Kada je otopila led iz svih drugih spilja, nastale su rijeke, potoci i mora. Tada se digla visoko na nebo i postala sunce.
There were caves were considered to be a part of the solar mythology as well, because it was thought that the sun would go into a cave every night when it went down and past the horizon. It would enter into a cave, and that it was born out of a cave. And that's why we hear stories like, for example, the story of Mithra being born in a cave or out from a rock. Out of rock is the sun coming through the cave of the night or the cave of the winter, to be born again in the morning or in the season, winter solstice. And then we also have in Christian tradition, we have the story of Jesus being born in a cave. That's outside of the New Testament. They talk about Jesus being born in a cave.
Za pigmeje plemena Semang, no isto tako i za stanovnike ognjene zemlje, ali i za afričke bušmane, sunce je oko vrhovnoga boga. Pigmeji koji žive u neprekinutim načinu života već više od 25.000 godina praiskonski na prostoru današnje pustinje Kalahari, drže da je sunce nositelj evolucijskog procesa od početka do kraja, ili svedeno na jedan ljudski život, to bi značilo da sunce upravlja životom na zemlji od točke granuća pri porodu pa do točke posljednjeg zaklapanja očiju.
We also find sun wheels. The sun wheel is very popular all around the world. People made them out of stones, just basically a wheel, sometimes with a cross in it, the cross having to do with the equinoxes and the solstices. The sun wheels have been put into clothing. You find them as parts of petroglyphs carved into rocks. We find them drawn just about everywhere. They of course, become parts of a cross, for example, with the Celtic cross. That would be a sun wheel.
Kao i u svim starim indoeuropskim jezicima, i u keltskom jeziku je ime sunca dano u ženskom rodu. Kelti drže suncem u njihovoj mitološkoj interpretaciji svijetlim, oni kaže svjetao ili lak, a također koriste i za sunce ime lice sunca. Sunce je u keltskoj tradiciji pojam istinitog svjedoka, stoga i uobičajena formula za prisizanje na keltskom jeziku slobodno prevedena glasi: zakuni se ljudima Leinstera suncem, mjesecom i vodom.
Postoje utrke u kojima je važno vidjeti koliko smo daleko otišli u budućnost korištenja sunčeve energije i njezine primjene. Recimo, automobili. World Solar Challenge je utrka solarnih automobila preko australskog kontinenta, od Darwina na sjeveru sve do Adelaida na jugu. Tu, na jugu australskog kontinenta je završilo, a počelo je nekoliko dana ranije na sjeveru kontinenta.
The race goes from Darwin to Adelaide, and the Aurora team has two main drivers, myself and another driver, and basically we alternate driving shifts. So in general, we run about maybe 300 to 400 kilometers a day for each driver.
What a fantastic morning. Here we are on the start line for the 9th World Solar Challenge in this magnificent setting, the precinct on the steps of Parliament House in Darwin, with 38 teams from 19 countries lined up behind us, just waiting for their great epic journey of crossing the whole continent.
A u stvari pravi početak epskog putovanja bio je 3 desetljeća ranije, 1983. godine, kada su Hans Tolstrup i Larry Perkins, putujući od Perta do Sidneya, postali prvi ljudi u povijesti koji su prešli jedan kontinent vozilom pokretanim isključivo sunčevom svjetlošću.
The first trip across the continent of Australia was in 1915, I believe, and there was no road. So when we used our solar power car some 80, 60 years later, the road was much better. And we did the time in very short time, I think 16 days, if I remember. And the gasoline-powered car in the 1920s would have been longer than that. And it began with my partner, Hans Tholstrup, an Australian, and he rang me one day and said, do you think we can do something with solar power for some project? Just after the Gossamer was crossed the English Channel with the pedal power. And I said, yeah, why we make a car. We make a car go, we drive it across Australia. And that's how it started. Our research shows that, yes, no, we cannot find any solar car running anywhere before. And then one to drive 4,300 kilometres in its first outing is for sure unique, and to us it was the first one.
They did the first long distance journey. It was 4,000 kilometres from the west coast of Australia in Perth to Sydney. It took them a long time. I forget how many weeks or whatever, but that was the first long-distance journey. There have been many other long-distance journeys since then. Their idea was to find a way to have personal transport, even when oil disappeared or was hard to get or was too expensive. And that was the inspiration that Hans had to create this event, the World Solar Challenge.
After the construction and the journey and our first solar car, my partner, Hans Tholstrup, he was more interested in the solar activities. And about 7 years later, he made the first solar challenge run. He made it, start from the race from Darwin to Adelaide. The first solar car that we made and the journey we did opened the door to more activity on solar power. And the first race came along, the Solar Challenge, I think it was called, with 23 participants.
It's effectively the World Championship. It's the best internationally supported solar car race that exists. There have been many races, even in Europe, more than 300 solar car races, led by the famous Tour de Sol out of Switzerland. That started in 1985, 2 years before the World Solar Challenge. So really the first race ever was in Switzerland for solar cars and those sorts of vehicles. And that went for about 13 years. And this one here has been going since 87. The Japanese started their racing in 1992, but not on public roads, just on racetracks. And then the Americans also, in about 1992, maybe before that, started a college series.
No, I'll just she must know which box.
Shall I call her?
Yeah, I'll go down and ring my girl to come. Box in this one, I think. Yeah. Oh. Yes. Let's see what we have here. This is yours faithfully, my partner, the quiet achiever, just after construction. This is in the desert crossing. Look at this dust storm. Very, very good sun there. What else we got? More on the road. Here we are, arriving in Sydney. Some very good people. More at the finish. Here is 1 litre of the water from the ocean of the west to the ocean of the right. A good indication of the crowd in the finish in Sydney Opera House, and many people. It was a big event for the time. Yeah, we're very proud of that. And what have we got here? More on the road, in the garden. That is a better picture of the visibility, the bicycle wheels. The lid, what we call the lid, the solar panel, could lift. When we stopped in the end of a day, we'd lift the lid to face the setting sun. We designed to drive around 40 kilometres an hour, and when the sun was shining nicely, and on a good day, if my memory is correct, the record day we nearly did 400 kilometres in one day, and we did have battery storage for surplus energy, so that when the sun went behind the cloud, we had some power. It was very quiet, and you know, when you were sitting in the car driving, you know, the visibility was not so good, but you had a long time to consider that there was no pollution, no noise from mechanicals. It was very quiet. It was very peaceful. The Quiet Achiever now is in the museum, the National Museum in Australia, and but I have some more spare parts here from the trip. This is a spare motor. We didn't need a spare, but we had a motor ready to go. It's a fixed magnet motor, and our maximum power is a little over 1,000 watts. So I got many interesting things here. What's this one? This is spare parts for the spare motor. There is little pieces here, a spare hub for one of the wheels. The bicycle wheel spokes. They're spares. So we had many spares, and we were prepared for failure, but we didn't use any. The biggest difference is today's car to the Quiet Achiever vehicle of mine is the power that they can now get from the sun is nearly 5 times more powerful than I had. Because it's 5 times more powerful, it goes a lot faster.
The car in general is capable of about 100 kilometers an hour on solar power alone.
The high speed can go up 120 kilometers per hour. So in fact, this time, like yesterday, before yesterday, the weather is very well. Normally, we always keep 110 kilometers per hour.
The energy consumption goes up exponentially with the speed. So when you drive half day with 50 Ks and the rest of the day with 100 Ks, you use much more energy than when you drive with 75 constantly over the whole day, because the air resistance gets much bigger when you drive faster. And that's why it's so important to forecast all the conditions and to forecast the energy. And that's why the aim is to just stay at one speed, and that's how you drive the car the most efficient.
All of the panels up here you see are the solar collectors. They collect the sun's energy, store them in our battery pack, and drive the car via the rear, the motor in the rear wheel there. This is the driver cockpit area up here. The canopy opens, and the driver sits inside, guiding it with the steering wheel and the brakes and accelerator pedal up ahead. Some of the interesting features on this car are we cover the wheels here with these fairings, and as the driver is steering, these fairings are allowed to flex in and out to make way for the wheel, and then they return back to normal, help keeping an aerodynamic shape while still allowing the car to turn properly. We've been working on this car for about 18 months. It took about 6 months of design and years of construction, and 1 year of construction, and then we shipped it to Australia starting mid-August.
This attracts, first of all, these events are very difficult. Teams are usually amateurs, volunteers. They're building a car from scratch. They're prototypes, they're hand-built. Many skills are needed, lots of engineering fields. And then there's a business and sponsorship and logistics side of it that is also quite difficult. So as a project, they're very good for universities because it taps into so many different things. People ask me, when can I buy a solar car? They're not very practical because the amount of energy at one time is small. So even on this car, all we can collect is, say, 1,200 watts at one time, and that's not very powerful. But if you have a place to store the energy, it works out very well. What we're finding, for example, you've heard of hybrid cars. In America, there's maybe 10 different brands of hybrid cars available. You can buy a solar roof panel for every one of them. So people are buying their hybrid, they want more efficiency, and they buy a solar panel to supplement the energy they're using. And that's going to come.
They seat one person, they have no cargo room, and it's going to be very impractical to build a car with all the luxuries you see today. And is efficient enough to be driven by, a little bit of solar panel on the sun or on the roof. What we, think is more likely is you'll see electric vehicles, around that just have large battery packs in them, and then you can put up, a big panel on your house that can be collecting power, all day, every day, and then you can essentially just charge your car from your house.
The challenge class that we're running in has specified some rules to make the cars more realistic. So now we have a more upright seating position, we have a steering wheel, we have headlamps. We've already had turn signals in the past. So what it's supposed to do is make these cars much more realistic to the average person on the street. I'm not sure you'll ever see a solar car for sale to the general public, but what you will see, and what you already see now, are technologies coming from solar car racing and other events like it into the mass transportation community. So things like lightweight composites, advanced electronics or mechanical components, those things are filtering down from prototype vehicles like this to the average consumer's vehicle.
If you assume, as we've been going here, that it is possible to get, much more efficient motors and stuff, the power could, possibly supplement, reasonably maybe 25% of your total energy budget, for driving the car down the freeway.
Every team member just have a dream. In the future, solar car will be reliable and use on normal road. It's no problem. I think every team member just think about that. And I believe maybe 5 more years, 10 more years, we could see a solar car on the road, but for short distance, maybe go shopping in the mall or go to school.
This year, the World Solar Challenge organization is actually celebrating the 20th year of this event. I think the average speed was something like 37 miles per hour, I think, which is not very quick. These days, we're doing 130 or more. Batteries are improving all of the time, and I think one day, we will get very efficient battery systems. I think it's possible, but we need to continue the development and the research, which events like this certainly help to facilitate. And I think maybe someday in the future we will see, solar cars running around the cities. There is no such thing as impossible. Everything is possible. It won't be quick, but years down the track, I'm fairly positive.
Nama je sunce najbliža zvijezda, a one druge zvijezde koje vidiš, to su isto sunca, samo su puno dalje, tako da su neke veće, neke manje, a neke su kao naša zvijezda.
Naše sunce je žuti patuljak.
Kakav patuljak?
Žuti, zato što sjaje žutom svjetlošću.
A zašto patuljak?
Pa zato što ima puno većih zvijezda od sunca. Ogromnih. A i drugih su boja. Plave, crvene, žute, bijele.
I svako od njih šalje svjetlost kao i sunce?
Pa neke jaču, neke slabiju, ali sunce nije samo svjetlost.
It's not just light that we get from the sun. We also get high energy particles, this type of radiation. And between Apollo 16 and Apollo 17, the final moon landings, there occurred a huge solar flare and a huge burst of radiation from the sun. And had there been astronauts on the lunar surface when that flare occurred, they could have been quite severely damaged and made very ill had they been exposed to that. Now, fortunately, when they were walking on the moon, no such flare occurred. But certainly if we ever want to go to Mars, if we ever want to stay on the moon for long periods or travel further out into the solar system, we have to find some way to predict and protect ourselves against solar radiation, which can be very harsh and can be debilitating unless you have some way to protect yourself against it.
Postoje dva osnovna oblika eruptivnih procesa u sunčevoj atmosferi. Jedno su sunčevi bljeskovi, a drugo su koronini izbačaji. Iako su ta dva procesa na neki način različita međusobno, oni su ujedno i vrlo povezani. U oba dva slučaja radi se o oslobađanju magnetske energije koja je pohranjena u atmosferi Sunca, a uz to, kada se oslobodi sunčeva erupcija, koronin izbačaj takozvani, ujedno se pojavljuje i sunčev bljesak.
Sunčevom aktivnošću, sunčevim vjetrovima, fizikom plazme sunca i sustava sunce-zemlja na Hvarskoj zvjezdarnici bavi se astronom s Geodetskog fakulteta Bojan Vršnak.
Sunčevi bljeskovi su pojava pri kojoj se prvenstveno u sunčevoj atmosferi oslobodi energija u obliku toplinske energije, tako da korona, koja je inače vrlo vruća, negdje oko 1.000.000 Kelvina, postane još daleko zagrijanija na tim područjima gdje se dešava bljesak, tako da dostignu temperature vrijednosti i do nekoliko desetaka milijuna kelvina. Dakle, vrlo visoke temperature se pojavljuju, što ujedno znači da će i tako područje osloboditi vrlo jako zračenje u rengenskom području. Tako da ta pojava rengenskog zračenja i ultraljubičastog zračenja može utjecati značajno i na višlje slojeve u zemljinoj atmosferi. Uz to, bljesak oslobađa i čestice visokih energija, dakle čestice koje putuju kao snopovi prema zemlji brzinama koje su gotovo jednake brzini svjetlosti. Te čestice za svega 10-20 minuta stignu do zemlje i onda opet mogu utjecati na visoke slojeve atmosfere. Mi ih tu dole niže u atmosferi ne osjetimo, zato nas od njih vrlo dobro brani magnetsko polje Zemlje. Međutim, recimo za astronaute ili svemirske letjelice koje su u orbiti oko Zemlje, oni mogu biti pogubni. Za razliku od sunčevih bljeskova koji se odvijaju u samoj sunčevoj atmosferi i tamo ostaju na neki način i vezani, jer sve se dešava unutar nekoliko stotina tisuća kilometara iznad sunčeve površine, koronini izbačaji su jedan drugi vid erupcije, a on predstavlja upravo izbačaj materije u međuplanetarni prostor. To su procesi koji su vrlo visokih energija, jer sam materijal koji putuje, znači plazma iz sunčeve atmosfere, taj plin i magnetsko polje zajedno s njim, putuju brzinama koje mogu biti i nekoliko tisuća kilometara u sekundi. Takav izbačaj putuje kroz međuplanetarni prostor i napreduje prema Zemlji. I s obzirom da nosi sa sobom i magnetsko polje, kada dođe u dodir sa magnetskim poljem Zemlje, uzrokuje takozvane geomagnetske oluje. I te geomagnetske oluje mogu imati značajne posljedice na sam život na Zemlji, znači za nas same.
In 1989, there was a large flare on the surface of the sun which sprayed towards the Earth a cloud of energetic particles. And when they struck the Earth's atmosphere, they created an electromagnetic disturbance. And that affected particularly northern latitudes because the changing magnetic field around the Earth induced electrical currents in pipelines and in power grids, and particularly in Canada, in Quebec. For 2 or 3 days, there were severe interruptions to the energy supply because the energy grid was severely affected by these induced currents, whose source was the particles from the sun. Now, since that time, we've learned actually how to deal with this to a large degree, and that modern-day phones, pagers and communications will not be so affected by large solar flares as they were in the past.
Ako je sunce najvažnija, da li ima neka druga ili treća po važnosti?
Pa, može se reći, druga po važnosti bila bi sunčice. Što ti misliš koja bi to mogla biti, a?
Kad malo razmislim...
Ima jedna zvijezda koja sjaji po noći putnicima i naročito mornarima. Nalazi se na sjevernom dijelu kugle zemaljske, zove se Polaris.
Zvijezda sjevernjača!
Onaj ko zna pronaći zvijezdu sjevernjaču, ona će mu uvijek reći gdje se nalazi sjever.
A kako ju možemo pronaći kad ih ima bezbroj?
Pa tako što je ona najsjajnija zvijezda sazvježđa...
Malog medvjeda!
Eto ga.
A gdje je to?
Zar nikad nisi gledao malog i velikog medvjeda? Pa to je najljepša slika na nebu!
Pa ne, nikad nisam vidio ovoliko zvijezda.
Pa ovako, Polaris ti se nalazi na vrhu sazvježđa, razumiješ? I sad se ide dolje prema malim kolima.
Imam ideju, sad ću ti pokazati.
In the 17th century, when the sunspots disappeared for perhaps 60 or 70 years, it seems that Europe and possibly the world cooled slightly. There was a little ice age. Now, it's very difficult to work out exactly what happened, but certainly there does seem to be a coincidence between sunspots disappearing on the sun and a chill on the Earth, when the conditions in Western Europe became very bad for civilization. A lot of people died because the climate became colder and wetter, particularly after the warmth of the medieval period when the population increased and food supply was plentiful. The other aspect of the sun is that its solar cycle, this 11-year cycle of activity, was increasing quite dramatically throughout the 20th century. Also, at the same time that the Earth's global average temperature was increasing. So you have here two coincidences, if they are coincidences. When the sunspots disappeared, the Earth chilled slightly. And when sunspots were in abundance and increasing in number, the Earth got warmer. Is there a connection between the sun's activity and the temperature of the Earth and global warming on the Earth? And there's another twist to that story. Since the year 2000, the sun seems to have changed its behavior once again. It's possibly going through the start of a period when it's not as active as it once was. And if you look at the global temperature of the planet, you find that that also changed round about the year 2000. It stopped getting warmer. If you look at the temperature of the Earth over the past few hundred years, you'll see that in the 17th century, it was colder than it is today. Then it got slightly warmer and dipped again in Victorian age. The Victorian period was much colder than it is now. They had a lot more severe winters, particularly in Europe, than we do at the moment. And starting in about 1890, the Earth's temperature gradually started to increase. And it's actually been increasing gradually for about the past 100 years. Although between the period of 1940 and 1980, it stayed roughly constant at about average. And since 1980, for 20 years, it increased in brightness. So you can see that over the whole of the 20th century, in general, the temperature of the Earth increased. And curiously, if you look at the sunspot activity, if you look at the strength of the solar activity measured by the number of sunspots and the strength of the solar cycle, you find that was also increasing quite dramatically over this period. And the big question is it a coincidence that when the sunspot cycle was getting stronger and stronger, the Earth's temperature was increasing at the same time?
Sedam zvijezda tvore mala kola. I na vrhu je Polaris, zvijezda sjevernjača. Tako ti izgleda mali medvjed.
Jako lijepo. A što tvoj djed radi kad sve to zna?
Pa sad se brine za svjetionik i proučava zvijezde. Ima hrpu knjiga i mali teleskop. Prije cijeli život je plovio, bio je kapetan. Oplovio je sva mora svijeta više puta i bio je na svim kontinentima i upoznao mnoge ljude i čuo mnoge priče koje mi sad pričam.
Kakve priče?
Pa čuj svakakve. O dalekim otocima, neobičnim zemljama, skrivenim narodima. Ali najdraže su mi priče o dalekim prošlostima.